the world's most powerful men. We begin with the breaking news at this hour, which is that Prince Andrew has been stripped of all his royal titles by his brother, the king. It comes as the younger brother of King Charles is accused again of forcing sexual encounters with a teenager.
The unthinkable just happened. After years of standing by him through everything, Sarah Ferguson has abandoned Prince Andrew. Their daughters won't even answer his calls. Royal Lodge is becoming his prison. But what King Charles just did changes everything, and insiders say it's far worse than anyone imagined. Sarah Ferguson is about to break her silence in the most explosive way possible, and what she's threatening to reveal could bring down the entire monarchy.
I think that her story is an incredibly graphic and horrific one that honestly is hard to even script. Having known her so well, we traveled around the country together. I've heard the brutality that she went through. And I think when you hear this,
You won't believe what happened behind closed doors, and why even his own family is running for the exits. The once carefully maintained image of the York family as a unified front has begun to crumble in spectacular fashion, and the cracks are now impossible to ignore. For years, the public has been presented with a narrative of an amicable divorce, a modern royal arrangement where Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson continued to live together at Royal Lodge despite their separation decades ago. This cohabitation was always framed as proof of their enduring friendship and mutual support, a testament to their ability to put their daughters first and maintain family stability despite the scandals that have plagued them both. However, recent developments suggest that this carefully constructed facade is finally collapsing under its own weight. Prince Andrew, once a prominent member of the royal family, has seen his reputation deteriorate to a point where recovery seems impossible. His association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has resulted in the suspension of his royal title and his effective removal from public royal duties. The Duke of York title, which he held for decades, has become so tainted by controversy that its use has been discontinued in official contexts. This represents not just a personal humiliation, but a complete erasure of his role within the monarchy. What makes this situation particularly striking is the apparent withdrawal of support from the one person who has stood by Andrew through every previous scandal. Sarah Ferguson, known affectionately as Fergie, has been his most consistent defender, even years after their divorce in 1996. She has publicly spoken about their continued close relationship, described their living arrangement as perfectly natural, and defended him against critics on numerous occasions. This loyalty has been one of the defining characteristics of their post-divorce relationship, setting them apart from most separated couples and providing Andrew with at least one reliable source of public support. But that support now appears to be evaporating. Sources close to the family have noted Fergie's prolonged absences from Royal Lodge, the sprawling property in Windsor Great Park that has been their shared home. These absences are being interpreted not as temporary trips or professional commitments, but as a deliberate and significant distancing. The symbolism is powerful. For someone who has made their continued closeness a central part of their public identity, physical separation sends an unmistakable message. It suggests that even Fergie, who has weathered countless storms alongside Andrew, has reached a breaking point. The connection between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein has been documented extensively. The two men first met in 1999, introduced through mutual acquaintances in their social circles. What began as a friendship developed into a relationship that saw Andrew visiting Epstein's properties and being photographed with him on multiple occasions. The nature and extent of their friendship became a matter of intense public scrutiny, particularly after Epstein's arrest and conviction. Andrew's decision to maintain contact with Epstein even after the financier's 2008 conviction for soliciting prostitution from a minor raised serious questions about his judgment. The controversy reached its peak with allegations made by Virginia Giuffre, who claimed she was trafficked by Epstein and forced to have sexual encounters with Prince Andrew when she was 17 years old. Andrew has consistently denied these allegations, but his attempt to address them in a television interview with the BBC in 2019 is widely regarded as having backfired dramatically. Rather than clearing his name, the interview generated additional criticism of his responses and his apparent lack of empathy for Epstein's victims. The fallout from that interview was swift and severe, leading to his withdrawal from public duties. Throughout all of this, Fergie remained supportive, at least publicly. She described Andrew as a good man who was being unfairly treated, emphasized his role as a devoted father, and suggested that the media coverage was disproportionate and unjust. This loyalty was remarkable given that Fergie herself has faced numerous scandals over the years and understands the weight of negative publicity. Her willingness to defend Andrew seemed to reinforce the idea that whatever else had failed in their marriage, their fundamental partnership had survived. The cracks in this partnership are now extending to the next generation. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie have long been placed in an uncomfortable position, caught between their natural love for their father and the increasing difficulty of defending his actions publicly. Both women have built their own lives and identities, with Beatrice working in business and technology sectors, and Eugenie involved in various charitable endeavors, particularly focused on anti-slavery initiatives. They have tried to maintain a careful balance, supporting their father privately, while avoiding being drawn too deeply into public controversies. Recent reports suggest that this balance is becoming unsustainable. Both sisters are said to be struggling with the ongoing nature of the scandals surrounding their parents. While they have not made public statements distancing themselves from their father, their actions speak volumes. There has been a noticeable reduction in public appearances alongside Andrew, and both have been careful to cultivate their own separate public identities, rather than being seen primarily as his daughters. The situation represents a complete reversal of fortune for a family that once occupied a prominent position within the royal hierarchy. Andrew was seen as the Queen's favorite son, a naval veteran who served in the Falklands War and later took on the role of special trade envoy. His daughters were born into privilege and raised with all the advantages that come with being working royals, even if they were not destined to be at the very top of the succession line. The York family had a distinct identity within the broader royal family, known for being somewhat more relaxed and modern in their approach. That identity is now in ruins. The House of York, as it has been called, no longer functions as a cohesive unit within the royal framework. Andrew is isolated, his public role eliminated, and his reputation beyond repair. Fergie's apparent distancing suggests that even the most basic family structure that remained is now fracturing. The daughters are being forced to choose between loyalty to their parents and their own futures, a choice that appears increasingly to favor self-preservation over filial duty. This collapse has been years in the making, but the pace has accelerated dramatically in recent months. Each new revelation, each additional piece of information about Andrew's past associations, has made the situation more untenable. The royal family, under the leadership of King Charles, has made it clear that there is no path back to public life for Andrew. He will retain his title as a prince by birth, but the Duke of York designation that once defined his public role has been effectively retired. He receives no public funding for royal duties because he no longer performs any, and his presence at family events has become increasingly rare and carefully managed. For a family that once seemed to pride itself on weathering storms together, on maintaining unity in the face of criticism, this disintegration is particularly striking. The message being sent is clear. There are limits to loyalty, boundaries beyond which even the closest family ties cannot provide protection. Prince Andrew has crossed those boundaries, and the consequences are now playing out in full public view. The emotional and psychological toll of the ongoing scandals has reached a point where even the most resilient members of the York family are reportedly seeking help to cope. According to sources familiar with the situation, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie have turned to professional counseling services to manage the stress and anxiety caused by the relentless public scrutiny of their parents. This represents a significant acknowledgement that the burden has become too heavy to manage privately. For years, both sisters maintained a composed public face, rarely showing any sign of the strain they must have been feeling. The fact that they are now reportedly seeking therapeutic support suggests that the situation has escalated beyond what can be handled through family conversations or personal resilience alone. The decision to seek counseling also reflects a broader recognition within the family that new allegations and revelations continue to emerge with disturbing regularity. Each time it seems the worst might be over, another piece of information surfaces, another connection is revealed, another uncomfortable question is raised. This constant drip of negative news creates an environment of perpetual crisis, making it impossible for anyone associated with the family to move forward or find any sense of closure. The sisters, who have their own careers and families to think about, are reportedly questioning how much longer they can realistically continue defending their father when doing so comes at such a high personal cost. While her daughters grapple with these challenges, Sarah Ferguson appears to be preparing for what could be her most significant media intervention yet. Having been officially stripped of the right to use her royal title in any formal capacity, Fergie is reportedly not retreating quietly into private life. Instead, multiple sources suggest she is considering a major television interview, with speculation centering on the possibility of a fourth sit-down conversation with Oprah Winfrey. If this comes to fruition, it would represent the latest chapter in a long-running relationship between Fergie and the American talk show host, a relationship that has repeatedly served as a platform for public rehabilitation attempts. The history of these interviews tells its own story. The first took place in 1996, shortly after her divorce from Prince Andrew was finalized. That appearance allowed Fergie to present her side of the story, to explain the circumstances that led to the end of her marriage, and to begin crafting a narrative of herself as someone who had been mistreated by the rigid structures of palace life. The interview was watched by millions and helped establish her as a sympathetic figure in the eyes of many viewers, particularly in the United States, where the British class system and royal protocols are viewed with a mixture of fascination and skepticism. She returned to Oprah in 2010, this time in the wake of what became known as the Cash for Access scandal. Fergie had been caught in a sting operation appearing to offer access to her ex-husband in exchange for substantial payments. The footage was damaging and the backlash swift. The Oprah interview provided her with an opportunity to apologize, to explain that she had been drinking and was in financial difficulties, and to ask for forgiveness. Once again, the public confession seemed to work in her favor, allowing her to weather a scandal that might have permanently destroyed someone with less media savvy. The third Oprah appearance came in 2011, following her exclusion from the wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton. While most of the royal family and many of Andrew's relatives attended the high-profile ceremony, Fergie was notably absent. The snub was public and painful, a clear signal that despite her continued relationship with Andrew, she was not considered part of the royal fold. The interview allowed her to address the hurt this caused while maintaining a dignified tone, emphasizing her happiness for the couple, while subtly suggesting that the exclusion had been unfair. Each of these appearances followed a similar pattern. Fergie would present herself as someone who had made mistakes, who was deeply sorry for any harm caused, but who was ultimately a good person trying to navigate impossible circumstances. She would acknowledge her flaws while suggesting that the system she had been part of was inflexible and unforgiving. And crucially, she would frame each scandal not as the end of her story, but as another chapter in an ongoing journey toward personal growth and redemption. This narrative structure has proven remarkably effective, allowing her to maintain public sympathy, even as she repeatedly found herself at the center of controversy. However, a potential fourth interview would be fundamentally different in both its context and its implications. This time, Fergie would not be defending a single action or seeking sympathy for a specific incident. Instead, she would be positioning herself to potentially rewrite her entire legacy. The stakes are considerably higher because her situation is more precarious than ever before. Without her royal title, potentially facing the loss of her home at Royal Lodge, and with her ex-husband's financial situation under scrutiny, she faces genuine uncertainty about her future. Friends and associates of Fergie have reportedly said that she feels she has been made a scapegoat by the palace establishment. She allegedly believes that while she has been punished and excluded, Other members of the royal family who have engaged in questionable behavior have been protected and shielded from consequences. This sense of injustice is said to fuel her desire to speak out. She reportedly places particular blame on what she calls the men in gray suits, referring to the senior courtiers, advisors, and palace officials who wield enormous power behind the scenes. In her view, these faceless bureaucrats orchestrated her exclusion and have maintained it long after her actual transgressions should have been forgiven. This defiance is not new. Even after being stripped of the right to use the title Her Royal Highness following her divorce, Fergie continued to use it in various contexts for years. She seemed to view it as rightfully hers, regardless of what official protocols dictated. This stubbornness, this refusal to simply accept the judgments made about her, has been a consistent thread throughout her post-divorce life. It has made her unpredictable and difficult to manage from the palace's perspective, but it has also contributed to her survival. She has never fully accepted the role of disgraced outsider that others tried to assign her. Yet beneath all the bravado and the talk of speaking her truth lies a more practical concern. Sarah Ferguson has spent decades living a lifestyle that requires substantial financial resources. She has traveled extensively, maintained homes, employed staff, and participated in social circles where wealth is simply assumed. While she has generated income through various ventures, including writing children's books, appearing on television programs, and more recently working as a producer on projects including a Netflix series, these earnings have reportedly never been sufficient to fully support her lifestyle without additional help. That additional help has historically come from Prince Andrew, and by extension, from his position within the royal family. Even after their divorce, Andrew's financial support and their shared residence at Royal Lodge meant that Fergie could maintain a standard of living befitting someone with royal connections. She also benefited from a global network of wealthy contacts, particularly in regions like the Middle East and China, where her royal association provided value. Business consultancy arrangements, speaking fees, and various other opportunities flowed from this network. The problem now is that the very foundation of this arrangement is crumbling. Andrew's own financial situation is under pressure, as he faces legal costs and the loss of various income streams that were tied to his royal status. The royal family under King Charles is implementing a policy of financial restraint and is clearly unwilling to subsidize Andrew's lifestyle going forward, which by extension means no indirect support for Fergie either. Her traditional network of wealthy patrons may also be reconsidering their associations as the reputational damage surrounding Andrew becomes more severe and permanent. This creates a situation where the interview is not simply about public vindication or emotional catharsis. It is potentially a financial necessity, a way to convert her notoriety and insider knowledge into immediate cash. The question is what price the market will bear and what she will need to reveal to command that price. Her track record suggests she understands how to monetize scandal, having repeatedly demonstrated an ability to turn disgrace into opportunity. But this time, the challenge is greater because the scandal is not primarily her own, and the revelation she might make could have far-reaching consequences for others, including her own daughters and the institution of the monarchy itself. King Charles has made it clear that his vision for a modernized monarchy involves significant cost-cutting measures and a deliberate effort to distance the institution from ongoing scandals. As part of this strategy, Prince Andrew's continued residence at Royal Lodge, a grand property in Windsor Great Park, is increasingly being viewed as unsustainable. The mansion, with its 30 rooms and extensive grounds, requires substantial upkeep and maintenance costs. For a member of the royal family who no longer performs any official duties and generates no public benefit, the expense is difficult to justify. Speculation has been growing that Andrew may be relocated to a far less prestigious property, with the Castle of May in northern Scotland emerging as a potential destination. The Castle of May represents a dramatic downgrade in virtually every respect. Located in Caithness, one of the most remote regions of mainland Scotland, the property sits approximately 6 miles from the nearest village. The isolation is profound, with the nearest town of any size being Thurso, which has been described in various publications as one of Scotland's least appealing locations. The climate is harsh, with strong winds coming off the North Sea making the environment feel particularly bleak for much of the year. The castle itself, while historically significant as a former residence of the Queen Mother, lacks the comfort and amenities of Royal Lodge. It is a far cry from the genteel surroundings of Windsor, where Andrew has been able to maintain at least some semblance of his former lifestyle. What makes this potential relocation even more significant is Sarah Ferguson's reported response to the possibility. According to sources close to the family, Fergie has made it abundantly clear to friends and confidants that she has absolutely no intention of following Andrew to such a remote location. This position is revealing in multiple ways. For years, the public narrative has centered on Fergie as Britain's most loyal ex-wife, someone who stood by Andrew through thick and thin, who maintained their relationship despite divorce, and who prioritized their family unity above all else. Her refusal to accompany him to Scotland fundamentally contradicts this carefully cultivated image. The reality appears to be that Sarah Ferguson's loyalty has always been conditional rather than absolute. When examining the pattern of their relationship over the past 3 decades, it becomes clear that her support for Andrew has been strongest when it served her own interests, during the years when he maintained his royal status and the financial security that came with it. She was a vocal defender, happy to live at Royal Lodge and benefit from the association. She vigorously defended him during earlier controversies, presenting a united front that suggested their bond was unbreakable. However, once Andrew's situation deteriorated to the point where he became a liability rather than an asset, Fergie's behavior changed noticeably. She began spending more time abroad, developing her own projects and income streams, and creating distance between herself and the worst of the scandal. This pragmatic approach to their relationship reveals that her much-vaunted loyalty was never really about unconditional devotion, but rather about a mutually beneficial arrangement. She received housing, financial support, and continued access to royal circles. In return, she provided him with companionship and public support. Now that he can no longer provide his side of the bargain, her willingness to maintain the arrangement has evaporated. Throughout their years together, both during and after their marriage, Fergie consistently leveraged Andrew's connections for her own financial advancement. Her business ventures, speaking engagements, and various paid opportunities were significantly enhanced by her royal association. Being able to present herself as someone with insider access to the royal family, someone who maintained a close relationship with a senior prince, added considerable value to whatever she was selling. This was not coincidental or accidental, but rather a deliberate strategy to monetize her position. The consequences of this unraveling relationship extend far beyond the 2 principals involved. Princesses, Beatrice and Eugenie, find themselves in an increasingly difficult position as they watch their parents' relationship deteriorate in public view. Now aged 37 and 35 respectively, both women have spent their entire adult lives trying to establish identities separate from their parents' various controversies. This has never been easy, given the intense public interest in the royal family and the regular headlines generated by both Andrew and Fergie over the years. The sisters were raised with all the privileges associated with being members of the royal family, including the best education, access to elite social circles, and the advantages that come with their titles. However, they were not given the official roles and responsibilities granted to their cousins Prince William and Prince Harry. This created an awkward middle ground where they enjoyed royal status, but lacked the purpose and structure that comes with being working royals. As a result, both have pursued careers in the private sector while maintaining selective involvement in royal events and charitable activities. Beatrice has worked in various roles in business and technology, including positions at financial firms and technology companies. She has tried to build a career based on her own merits, rather than simply trading on her royal connections. Eugenie has similarly pursued her own path, working in the art world and becoming involved in charitable causes, particularly those focused on combating modern slavery and human trafficking. Both have married and started families of their own, which has given them additional motivation to protect their personal lives from the ongoing drama surrounding their parents. The profound level of disgrace that has attached itself to Prince Andrew, combined with Sarah Ferguson's perpetual association with various controversies, has forced both daughters to make increasingly difficult choices. The pattern of their recent behavior suggests they are actively distancing themselves from their parents, while trying to avoid making this distancing too obvious or hurtful. Last Christmas provided a particularly telling example of this dynamic. Beatrice made the decision to join King Charles and Prince William at Sandringham for the traditional royal Christmas celebration. This was a significant choice because it meant aligning herself with the future of the monarchy, rather than with her father. Meanwhile, Andrew and Fergie spent the holiday alone, a stark contrast to previous years when the family would gather together. The symbolism was impossible to miss. By choosing Sandringham over Royal Lodge, Beatrice was sending a clear message about where her priorities lay and which side of the family divide she intended to position herself on. For someone who has always emphasized the importance of family loyalty, this represented a meaningful shift in behavior. Eugenie's actions have been equally revealing, though perhaps more subtle. She broke a long-standing tradition of posting birthday tributes to her mother on social media, a small gesture that nonetheless attracted significant attention from royal watchers. For years, Eugenie had been consistent about marking her mother's birthday with affectionate public messages, often accompanied by photographs and warm words about their relationship. The sudden silence was conspicuous and has been interpreted by those close to the family as indicating strain in their relationship. Sources suggest that Eugenie, who has historically been particularly close to her mother and was often seen as Fergie's most devoted defender, has reached a point of emotional exhaustion. The relentless nature of the scandals, the constant need to defend or explain her parents' behavior, and the impact on her own young family have reportedly taken a significant toll. She is described as being determined to protect her children from the chaos that has characterized her own upbringing, and this protective instinct appears to be driving her to create more distance from both parents. Adding to the complexity of Eugenie's situation was a mysterious financial incident that created another uncomfortable headline. A payment of £25,000 from one of Prince Andrew's business associates appeared in her bank account under circumstances that were never fully explained to public satisfaction. While there has been no suggestion that Eugenie herself did anything wrong or was even aware of why the payment was made, the incident created yet another public relations problem by once again linking the York name to questionable financial arrangements. For someone trying desperately to establish her own reputation independent of her father's controversies, this was particularly frustrating and damaging. As both sisters navigate their 30s, the question of their future role within the royal family structure becomes increasingly pressing. King Charles has made it clear that his vision for the monarchy involves fewer working royals, with official duties concentrated among a smaller core group. Beatrice and Eugenie, despite their royal births and their titles, are not part of this streamlined vision. They will be permitted to keep their titles as princesses because these come from their birth rather than from any official role, but they will not be elevated to the status of full-time working royals. This creates a painful paradox for both women. They have spent years being judged by the public, in part because of their parents' actions, suffering reputational damage by association with scandals they had no part in creating, yet they are simultaneously denied the platform and opportunity that might allow them to build a redemptive legacy through official royal service. They exist in a kind of limbo, royal enough to be scrutinized and criticized, but not royal enough to be given the tools to effectively shape their own narratives. Despite the mounting challenges and the increasingly strained family dynamics, one fundamental truth remains unchanged. Beatrice and Eugenie genuinely love their parents. This is not a matter of public performance or strategic positioning, but rather a basic emotional reality that underlies all of their decisions. They grew up in a household where, Despite the very public divorce and the ongoing tabloid scrutiny, both Andrew and Fergie made efforts to maintain a sense of family cohesion. The sisters have spoken in the past about their appreciation for the fact that their parents remained close and continued to co-parent effectively even after their marriage ended. This experience shaped their understanding of family loyalty and created bonds that are not easily severed, regardless of external pressures. However, in the complex reality they now face, love does not automatically translate into unconditional loyalty or a willingness to be dragged down by their parents' sinking reputations. Both women have their own families to consider now, their own children who will grow up in the public eye and who deserve protection from unnecessary scandal and controversy. They also have their own careers and public identities that have been carefully cultivated over years of effort. The question they appear to be grappling with is how to balance their natural affection for their parents with the practical need to preserve their own futures and protect their children from the chaos that has defined the York family name. The upcoming Christmas holiday season is being viewed by many observers as a critical moment that will provide insight into just how fractured the family has become. The Royal Christmas at Sandringham is one of the most significant annual gatherings of the family, traditionally bringing together multiple generations for a celebration that is both personal and symbolic. Where family members choose to spend this holiday sends powerful messages about relationships, loyalties, and the internal dynamics of the royal household. If Beatrice and Eugenie choose to celebrate with the wider royal family at Sandringham, rather than with their parents at Royal Lodge, it would represent an unmistakable public statement. Such a choice would constitute a formal acknowledgement that the House of York, as it has existed for decades, is fundamentally broken. For Andrew and Fergie, having their own daughters effectively reject them during one of the most important family occasions of the year would be both humiliating and painful. It would demonstrate to the world that even their closest family members, the people who presumably know them best and love them most, have decided that association with them carries too high a cost. The symbolism would be impossible to miss and would likely generate significant media coverage and public discussion. Yet even as these family fractures deepen, Sarah Ferguson shows no signs of preparing to fade quietly into obscurity. According to people who know her well, she is actively developing plans for a significant media offensive that could take several forms. The possibilities include television interviews, a comprehensive memoir, or even a documentary that would provide her perspective on her years within and around the royal family. She has reportedly been in discussions with various media figures and publishers, exploring which format would be most effective for telling her story in the way she wants it told. Fergie has undoubtedly observed the path taken by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle with great interest. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have demonstrated that there is enormous commercial value in royal family members who are willing to speak openly about their experiences, particularly when those accounts involve criticism of the institution and revelations about private family matters. Their Netflix documentary series and Harry's memoir generated massive global attention and substantial financial returns. The public appetite for insider perspectives on royal life appears to be nearly insatiable, particularly when those perspectives come from people who feel they have been mistreated or misunderstood. Sarah Ferguson positions herself as someone who can offer a unique viewpoint that differs from what Harry and Meghan provided. While they were working royals who chose to step away, Fergie was married into the family, divorced out of it, but maintained close proximity to the institution for decades afterwards. She has witnessed the inner workings of the royal household from multiple angles over an extended period. She has experienced both acceptance and rejection, privilege and exclusion, support and abandonment. This long and varied history gives her a perspective that is arguably more comprehensive than what other recent royal critics could offer. The challenge she faces, however, is a significant one that could undermine the entire endeavor. Sarah Ferguson has a well-documented history of embellishment, exaggeration, and financial opportunism that will inevitably cast doubt on anything she says. Over the years, various stories she has told have been questioned or contradicted by other evidence. Her involvement in the Cash for Access scandal demonstrated a willingness to exploit her royal connections for personal financial gain. Her financial troubles have been widely reported and have sometimes involved questionable judgment about the people and opportunities she associated herself with. All of this creates a credibility problem that any media outlet or publisher working with her will have to address. The palace communications team and supportive elements of the British media will almost certainly use this history to dismiss or discredit whatever claims she makes. They will point to past instances where her version of events did not align with documented facts. They will highlight her financial motivations for speaking out. They will suggest that she is simply attempting another reinvention, another effort to monetize her association with the royal family after previous ventures failed to provide long-term financial security. These are predictable lines of attack, and they will be effective with some segments of the public who are already skeptical of her reliability. However, Fergie appears unlikely to be deterred by these foreseeable criticisms. Instead, her strategy will likely involve reframing her credibility issues as further evidence of her authenticity and of the mistreatment she has suffered. She will present herself as a woman who has been systematically misrepresented by a hostile media establishment and an inflexible royal institution. Every criticism of her character will be recast as proof that powerful forces have worked to discredit her specifically because she threatens their carefully controlled narratives. Her past financial struggles will be explained as the natural result of being cut off from support systems and forced to survive independently while still being judged by royal standards. The core of her narrative will likely center on betrayal. She will position herself as someone who loyally defended the institution and her ex-husband for decades, often at significant personal cost to her own reputation and opportunities. She will argue that while she made mistakes and acknowledged them publicly, she was never forgiven or allowed to move past them in the way that other royal family members have been permitted to move past their own controversies. She will name the men in gray suits, the faceless courtiers and advisors who she believes orchestrated her exclusion and maintained it long after it was justified. And she will suggest that her ultimate abandonment by the family she defended so vigorously demonstrates the cruelty and hypocrisy at the heart of the institution. This narrative of rebellion and redemption has proven appeal. There is a global audience that is receptive to stories of individuals standing up against powerful institutions, particularly when those institutions are seen as representing outdated privilege and rigid hierarchies. Fergie possesses something that no official royal communications strategy can manufacture or control, which is the raw, unfiltered perspective of someone who has lived inside the system and been rejected by it. Only she can tell this particular story with the kind of personal detail and emotional resonance that makes such accounts compelling to mass audiences. In many ways, what is unfolding represents the final act of a unique chapter in royal history. The York family has always occupied an unusual space within the broader Windsor dynasty. They were never at the absolute center of royal life in the way that the direct line of succession inevitably is, but they were close enough to matter and visible enough to generate constant public interest. Andrew was seen as the Queen's favorite son, someone who combined military service with a more relaxed and accessible public persona than some of his siblings. Fergie brought a different energy entirely when she married into the family, initially welcomed as a breath of fresh air before becoming a source of constant controversy and embarrassment. Together, they created a branch of the royal family tree that was always somewhat rebellious and unpredictable. They defied conventions, survived scandals that would have permanently destroyed others, and maintained a presence in public life through sheer determination and an apparent inability to simply fade away quietly. Their story has been characterized by spectacular highs and devastating lows, moments of genuine charm mixed with profound lapses in judgment, and an overall trajectory that has fascinated observers precisely because of its volatility and unpredictability. But the current situation feels qualitatively different from previous crises. The walls are not simply closing in, they have essentially converged, leaving almost no room for maneuver. Andrew's public career is finished beyond any possibility of resurrection. His reputation has been damaged in ways that time will not heal, and the monarchy has made clear that there is no path back to any form of official role. Fergie's status as a royal, even in the informal sense that she maintained for years after her divorce, has been definitively revoked. Her financial situation appears precarious without the support structures she previously relied upon. Most significantly, their daughters, who might have provided an anchor and a reason to maintain family unity, are consciously choosing to distance themselves and build lives separate from the wreckage of their parents' reputations. For the first time in their long and tumultuous history, the York family's remarkable capacity for survival appears to have reached its limits. They are isolated, not just from the broader royal family, but increasingly from each other. The bonds that once held them together are fraying under the weight of accumulated scandal, and the practical recognition that continued association carries costs that now outweigh the benefits. They stand in the ruins of what was once a prominent position within one of the world's most famous families, connected now not by mutual affection or shared purpose, but simply by the collective damage to their names and futures. This brings the situation to a critical decision point for Sarah Ferguson. If she proceeds with telling her story publicly, the central question becomes how much destruction she is willing to inflict on the monarchy and on her own family in order to secure her own financial future and attempt to rehabilitate her reputation. Her entire history suggests a clear answer to this question. Self-preservation has always been her primary guiding principle. When the institution has abandoned her, she has never hesitated to look after her own interests first, regardless of the consequences for others.